Hi, welcome back to We Are Nacogdoches. It's the show where we get to talk to folks doing good things in our town. I'm Kelly Augustine and I work at the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce. And today I have Mr. David Cowee with me on
Right.
the show. David, you're a financial planner in our
I am.
town. I know you've helped a lot of folks over many years,
Yes, ma'am.
and we appreciate everything you do
Hey,
in
you are
Nacogdoches.
more than welcome. We enjoy it.
Well, good.
You
Good. You
bet.
like being here.
Yes,
We
ma'am.
might even touch on some of that a little later. But
Okay.
what I would love to talk with you right now is everybody has the potential to make money,
Right.
but planning for the future, I think, is important. And it may not be as easy as making money as to know what to do when you have the funds.
Very
So,
true.
what do you usually tell folks or advise folks when you're talking to them about planning for their financial futures?
Number one is to do it. There are so many times we see people that, well, I just never got around to that. But it doesn't matter. I tell folks all the time, you don't just wake up one day and there's this huge nest egg that you're going to be able to retire on and draw funds from. You have to start small and then be consistent in adding to. And as you add to and the market grows or the interest that you earn grows, that nest egg is going to grow. But it's not going to be one magical nest egg that'll just appear one of these days. You have to be consistent and diligent about putting money back.
That's great
Yes,
advice.
you bet.
So I think, maybe they're fortunate to have some of that through their careers, their jobs.
Exactly.
But would anyone also have an opportunity to do it outside of that?
Very true. I always tell people first, if your employer offers a 401k, at least put in there what they're matching, because that match is free money. Then after that, and you can put more. In fact, the IRS just announced that you can actually put, those that are older between 60 and 63 can put an additional 11,000 as far as the super contribution coming into this next year into their 401k. But at least put what you match or what is matched, and then on your own, try to work up where you're saving 5, 10, 15% on your own outside of your retirement plan. And that way you've got a diversity of investments, a diversity of sources to draw income off of when you do retire. Some of that will be taxable, some can be non-taxable.
And are there some important factors that someone would want to consider when planning, given the economic trends?
It is, and a lot of people get really nervous because the market has been really volatile the last couple of years. I tell folks, if you have a long window until retirement, the market is going to do fine. You're going to be a lot of ups and downs, and not to get nervous about it. Maybe when you get to within 10 years, you may want to start throttling back and not be as aggressive. And then, of course, as you get closer to that X date of retirement, you want to be a little bit more conservative than being aggressive. But somebody that's younger, 20, 30, 40 years of age, go ahead and start saving. You're going to see the ups and the downs, but over any 30-year period in the market, it should have averaged over 10%.
Well, I'm not going to tell you how old I am,
Okay.
but I am curious about what is a typical retirement age these days. Does that change?
It does change. We're seeing that pushing out even further. There are people that are working well into their 70s, which is good as long as you're wanting to do that. I tell folks all the time, if you want to continue working because you enjoy it, that is great, or even have a second career. But it's not okay if you're forced to work because you didn't save enough. So there's a big difference in having to work and wanting to work. But as we are healthier, as we live longer these days, we find a lot of people that are working into their 70s because they're enjoying and they just want something to do. People that didn't have hobbies, a lot of people retire, they don't have anything to do and they just sit at home and they're watching television and they get tired of doing that, so they go back to work. Hobbies are good because that keeps you active and keeps you younger.
Yeah,
You
it sure
bet.
does. It sure does. And a lot of ways to contribute back to your
To your
town.
community.
Hmm.
Nacogdoches for one, you bet.
Well, let's take another view from maybe an SFA student's
Okay.
perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Say they don't, they haven't started their career, but they may have a
Right.
part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, they have priorities in their spending. How would you advise a student?
Spend what you have in your pocket or what's in your checking account. It's really easy to get all these credit card offers in the mail and then just throw a credit card out there for everything. Spend what you have in your checking account or your savings account or what cash you have. but don't. I see so many people that get snowballed in debt, and it happens in a hurry. But live beneath your means. Don't try to impress your neighbors and drive something better than they, or live in a better house. Do what you need to do, and that way you don't get out of college with all that. A lot of folks are going to have college debt anyway, but if you tack on this other debt to it, it's really hard to get out from under. I've seen people in their 50s and 60s still paying off college loans, and you want to try to keep that to a minimum.
Right. What would you say? A little off of financial planning, but
Okay.
budgeting would be very important in that process.
Very much so. I am really big about getting into a budget. You say, okay, here's what I can bring in each month. Here's what the outgo is. Maybe you don't have to go out and eat as much. Maybe it's staying home and cooking. Borrow the, that's really hard to do when you have just two people at the house. I'm finding out, since we don't have kids anymore that are home as grandkids, but we have fun with them. But use a budget and try to stick in that budget. And I know things are going up. Insurance is increasing of all kinds. Gas. It just takes so much to live today that it didn't take when we were young.
Right, right. Are there, I'll say, products out there that somebody might want to have to help protect against high cost?
High cost of insurance or investing?
Both. I don't know. How would you like
Okay.
to address that
Well,
question?
for safe investing, there are a lot of different ways. CDs and money markets are really good right now because interest rates are up. It wasn't but a few years ago when interest rates were down around 1/4% just for a CD or what you had in the bank in a savings account. But when you can get sometimes north of 4 to 5% right now in a money market or a CD, that's a really safe place to put some money. So that's their safe places. We always, instead of bonds, because the bond market is pretty volatile right now, and it's made a comeback over the last year. But 2 or 3, 4 years ago, the bonds really weren't that safe. They were losing, and the value wasn't very good. But we use a lot of fixed and fixed indexed annuities for safe money. And then once we have our safe money in place, we can afford to take risk over here in the market. And risk is a different level for each person. Somebody may want to take a conservative risk, where we have someone over here that they want to just put it all out there and it doesn't matter about the risk and they just want to make high returns. But when you do that, you can also lose big. So you have to have a balance depending upon your risk tolerance.
Wow. What if someone's new to town? They've just moved in. Is there
Mhm.
a good, safe, smart way to move your money around?
I would think so. I think one of the best places to start is call the Chamber of Commerce, and then find out who the advisors are and go interview 2 or 3 or maybe more, because who you decide to work with, you have to get along with. Doesn't mean you have to be best buds where you're going out to eat every day, but you have to make sure that you're on the same page. Because if your advisor is here and you're going straight, and the further out you get in time, you're just going to get wider and wider apart. And you want to make sure you have the same ideology with life and investing and morals even than what your advisor have. You want to be on the same page.
Well, that is all good information you've shared with us. I'm curious to know what you think about the town. I don't know a lot about your background.
Hmm.
You and I have talked a few
We
times over
have.
the years, but what is it about Nacogdoches that makes you happy?
It's small, and even though some people fuss about the traffic when college is in, hey, it doesn't matter if it takes me 12 minutes to get across town instead of 5. I'd still rather be here than in Houston or Dallas. Traffic is too crazy. But it's the right size. We can go stropping on the brick streets downtown. You can walk those, and everybody knows you when you come in, especially when you've been here a while and you go see, and someone calls you by your name when you run into a shop. That means a lot. So I like Nacogdoches as being, I hope we don't get too much bigger. Growth is good, but I like to stay small.
Well, we can grow in some ways.
We can,
We
very
can.
true.
I think you hit on several things there. The relationship building
Hmm.
that you have professionally with clients,
Right.
but then you have around town. Because guess who you're going to see around town?
Your clients.
clients.
Very true.
Nice. What's your vision for Nacogdoches? What do you think is going to happen with our growth economically?
Hey, I mean, I think we're still going to grow. There's houses being built. I mean, you look around town, there's new businesses going in, there's commercial building going on. So Nacogdoches is great. It's not staying stagnant. Anything that's staying stagnant is going backwards. and Nacogdoches is more progressive than that. And I think we're going in the right direction, and we're going to continue to grow, not just in our student population, which I think that is good because that supports a lot of our businesses in town, but also with people coming in. There are a lot of retirees that are coming to Nacogdoches. There are families that are coming in from larger cities and other states that are making their way to Nacogdoches. And I always ask folks, how did you find Nacogdoches? They said, well, we just found it on a map, and it wasn't too small. It seemed like the right size, and so they moved here.
We hear that a lot too at our
I
office.
bet you do.
Folks that have either visited for whatever reason, work, travel, family, and they end up here.
Yes.
So if someone were to bring their business here, they too could invest their money in a good way in our town.
I would think so. You bet.
That's great, especially from the chamber perspective.
Exactly.
All right, David. Well, is there anything else that we haven't covered today?
Hey, I'm a financial advisor. All I do is visit with people all day. I could talk for a long time. But if you have any more questions, feel free to ask, or anybody can always stop by or give us a call. Look us up on the website and ask questions if they want to.
And what would that website be?
PineyWoodsFinancial.com.
Wonderful. Phone number?
559-1123.
Great. Well, thank you again for joining us today.
You're welcome.
And thank you for being with us on We Are Nacogdoches. We will see you again soon.
This program is brought to you by the Department of Mass Communication at Stephen F. Austin State University, in association with the Nacogdoches County Chamber of Commerce, and with special thanks to the City of Nacogdoches.